What's up, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Toy Room Renovation. This is the Slam Sessions on YouTube. I am Albert Albanese, and this is the episode that you guys have all been waiting for. Now, I know there's probably people out there who have been watching this and thinking to themselves, why is he calling this a Toy Room Renovation? He's just putting stuff away. But the reason why was that this show was initially started to document my process of redoing the upstairs of my old bedroom, which is where I'm at right now, to become my figure room. Now, early on in this incarnation of the Toy Room Renovation, I got an additional piece. So that piece is right behind me. This one right here. So this Monday Night Raw piece, right? And this piece is obviously housing right now the Monday Night Raw setup, and obviously this is where I have the Hall of Champions tentatively set up. So here's the thing. Now that I have this here, I've been telling everyone since the beginning of time, there needs to be shelving added into this unit. So the positive part about that is I am now living upstairs at my parents' house in the toy room, basically, for a little while my apartment is being renovated. So that means I have plenty of time now to piece this all together and figure out exactly where things are going to go and figure out how much spacing I need and get the materials and start doing this. So this episode in particular is going to be a little bit longer, and it's going to document my process on getting these shelves in, redoing everything, and showing you everything that I've done from start to finish. So first things first is I'm going to have to take some measurements. I'm going to have to see if I have to reset the shelf. I'm going to have to figure out a whole bunch of different things even before I even go and get the materials. So this is where my process starts. All right, so here's the shelf in question. So obviously, as you can see, I have the Hall of Champions set up in here. They're going to be taken off of this shelf and be moved over into this shelf. All of these guys are going to be taken off of this shelf and moved into this shelf. So the first thing that I have to do is take some measurements to ensure that I have everything set up the right way. Because as you can see, this shelf right here is adjustable. So as you can see, the rivets on the side here are showing us that I can now take the pieces in here and either move this shelf up to the next notch or down to this one over here if necessary. So let's take some measurements and see the size of everything. So here we are at first. All right. So this bottom shelf here is a little bit over a foot. Oh, there goes the rock. And the top shelf here is a little bit, it's almost right at the 1 foot mark. It's a little, maybe a half an inch over a foot. So if that's that, right? And this is this. Get that positions on the bottom here. Okay. So that means I think I'm going to knock this shelf down one. How much space do we have in between here? Yeah, so it's about an inch. So yeah, so it's about an inch in between the shelf spacing. So I think I'm going to clear off this top shelf first, and then I'm going to move this shelf down one. I'm going to remeasure and make sure that that's where I want to keep it. And yeah, and then essentially what's going to happen next is I'm going to have to start taking things apart to figure out how to start putting things together. So let's get this process started. Okay, so after all that was said and done, it turns out that I actually have to keep the shelf exactly where it was, because the way it measures out, if I move it up one more notch, it actually lessens the space that I have by way too much. So inevitably what it might mean is that, judging by the calculations I'm going to make in a few minutes, it's probably going to end up being that I might only have enough room for 3 shelves on one and 4 on the other. 3 layers. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I'm going to have to measure all that out now and see what we got. All right, so once again, here we go. All right, so this is what I currently have in the other shelf. So this is obviously going to stay there, but this is just for the idea of spacing. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extend these back a half an inch. So I think that as of right now, the amount that I have on these shelves here, they're about 2 inches, so I think I'm going to make them about 2.5 inches this time. And then, obviously, it's going to need to be longer, which I'll measure that in a minute. But as you can see here, we have 1, 2. So let's just take, for example, I want to put a decently tall character on there to just see about sizing. All right. And there's the issue, right? So Andre the Giant, if he's on that, that's all we're going to be able to do, right? Looks like it's just going to have to be 2 levels there. I'm not going to get any more. Now on the bottom, maybe we can try to sneak something in. Let's take a look. Albert trying to cut corners here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still trying to cut corners. All right. So now that's on the bottom shelf. Now, let's take that Andre figure again, and let's use this as the example. Okay. Could we get away with this? He's hitting it. Now, Andre's the tallest character. Really, I guess technically it would be like the Big Show, right? Big Show's just about... He's a little bit... I think they have him a little bit shorter than Andre, which is true to life, which is great. So if Big Show's here, now if we have to put him on that shelf, how many inches off the ground is the Big Show is the question. Let's take a look. So that's that. I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. Who am I kidding? All right, so now. It's an inch. He's a full inch off the ground. Now, I guess theoretically, with his hand, is that making... It's about 1.5 inches. These shelves are about 1.25 inches. If I make them... I think I might be able to get away with doing another one on this one. I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to do 4 rows on the bottom, and we're going to do the same on the top. That's the plan right now. So the next thing we're going to have to do is then take this top shelf down, because that's going to move over here, and then I can start building out the Hall of Champions shelf. So we're making some progress. So here we are. There it is, the first edition of the Hall of Champions shelf. I have now realized I have no room at all. Yeah, so there is, we got it from the, second WWE champion, Bruno Sammartino, on down. Obviously, as I said, I'm missing a few, and, but the order is pretty much correct here, and then we're moving down here. And as you can see, I'm completely out of room here. I actually can add a few fun ones. Actually, I had... Let me tell you, sometimes I'm not too smart. I wrote some stuff down that, kind of that I had already. So, you know what? I have that one there. Let's go with him. All right, there we go. All right, so that's kind of like what we got right now. It's a little bit of a mishmash here on this side. Roman's now, the last WWE champion as of now. He's held the belt for 3 years, so that's kind of where the cutoff is for the WWE championship. And then this is kind of just miscellaneous world heavyweight champions, and this is kind of in order down here, but I might have to redo the order, and the way I have them set up I might have to redo. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have to figure out with that bottom shelf, but this is what I have so far. But as you can see, I have no more room, and I definitely know I'm going to have more figures to put into here, so I'm going to have to figure out a different way maybe to or a different place then to continue this. Maybe they'll start over here and, into these miscellaneous shelves, and I'll switch them. But yeah, that's that. So then the next thing that I'm going to have to do is go and get these shelves built for all this and more. So should be interesting. All right, so the measurements are done and everything is set, except I changed my mind completely. So I had a stroke of genius right before I was getting ready to go. I said, these raw things fit in here. Now, I know that essentially what that means is that they'll be mostly hidden. I just knocked over 2 of my Chris Jericho figures by not paying attention. That was smart, right? Eventually, I know that, it'll kind of be covered. As you can see in here, right? You really can't see anything in the back. But you know what? I know they're there, and they fit. But if I do that, I essentially gain more space up here. So now, instead of those raw letters being up here, if I move them down the shelf, I can build another set of steps here to fit more figures up top. So now, instead of just doing a couple of shelves in here and a couple of shelves there, I'm going to do a couple of shelves up here as well, use this as my backdrop in the back, and save myself a little bit more space. So the next step now is to go out. I'm going to take a ride to Home Depot. I'm going to get all of my materials. And then I'm going to, with the help of my father, construct these shelves to put into the shelving unit to get myself started. So after that, then I can lay everything out, see where I stand, and start seeing, where everything goes. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can do what I want. And what I want is this. This shelf up top, this shelf right here, this shelf here underneath it, and this one right here. I want to make somehow see if I can get all of those, as well as these guys here, these guys here, and these guys here, into this one unit. I don't know if that's physically possible, so I'm going to do the best that I can. But if I can, that opens up so much more room for me so that I can essentially maybe do a little something different up on top of the unit. I can move the Macho Man stuff that I have over here onto this area, into this shelf. And then maybe, because I'll have a little bit more room up here, I can move over some of this stuff and, some of this, around the Macho Man stuff, move over, some stuff a little bit more and get something bigger up here. Like maybe a specific ring that I might have coming in. Who knows? Oh, please excuse my my body wash here. This is what happens when you're living with your parents for the first time in a while. Things are all over the place. So yeah, so the essentially what the idea is that I want to get all those down, move a lot of this Macho Man stuff over, maybe figure out a way to move all this over, and I have another ring coming in, and if I can get that up here, game changer. All right, so we've obtained our raw materials, and now that we have everything, the process starts to build the actual shelving units. It's really going to be like 9 overall spaces that we're going to have to put figures on. So it's going to be a lot of space. I'm hoping it's going to be more than I'm anticipating. So the process now is I'm going to build everything up, and then we're going to see where it takes us. Okay, here's the final product. These are our shelves, and they are going to go up into the unit right now. One's going to go on top, one's going to go in the middle, and I have to build a third one tomorrow, and I'll fill those in. So let's take a look and see how it'll all look. Well, it turns out in my infinite wisdom, I measured wrong. So one of the sets of shelves has to be redone, so I'm going to have to redo that tomorrow as well with the bottom. But the one that's on the top kind of works out pretty well, so we'll try to fill out that one as much as I can in this small window that I have, and then pick it back up when I have a little bit of a chance, maybe tomorrow. So let's start and see what happens. All right, so as you can see, a lot of changes have been made. There's been a lot of places where I've pulled stuff from in order to pack out the remainder of that shelf. There's a lot of things that I switched around because spaces kind of opened up. And there are also other spaces that I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with yet or how I'm going to fill them in, but that'll come on future episodes instead of just doing this all right now. This will be a work in progress. So speaking of a work in progress, you've seen everything that I've done so far. So at this point, I think it's time for you to see what the toy room looks like right now. And of course, take a look to see what the new shelves look like, all stocked out. So this is now a more work in progress than anything else. As you can see, the Macho Man stuff has all kind of been moved over here. And we have Cody and Brett and a couple other loose things over here. So I have a feeling that this isn't going to stay for too long, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do up here. I think I have an idea of what I want to do up here. I might move an entire collection up here and kind of redo all of this. But, you know, it's a prime piece of real estate. But I know you're thinking, Albert, okay, so you've cleaned this off, and I can see the only things you've cleaned off is your Macho Man figures. Well, that's because, boom, I've added my Macho Man figures all up here. So now this is all the Macho stuff that I have all on these two shelves. I'm already... Of course, I just finished doing all this, and I'm already thinking about changes that I want to make. And I'm thinking I'm going to take this Mega Powers 2-pack over here, and I'm actually going to open that up, put that in with the Championship Showcase, and move those figures around that I have for Hulk and for Macho into other parts. So I'm already spitballing ideas of how to make more room on the Macho Man shelf, but that's all the Macho Man stuff right there, plus all the stuff that's in the other collections. Another big thing that I did is I pulled down all of my Ruthless Aggression figures, so they're no longer there. And then over here, as you can obviously see, the bottom shelf's a little bit of a teaser of something that I might be doing, but as you can see, the post-Ruthless Aggression guys were all taken out from over here as well, so there's a space there for me to put something in there as well. So kind of figuring out what I want to do with all of these spaces, kind of have a little bit of an idea. The faction shelf, because I took down one of the DXs from over here, so I've moved the Undisputed Era here to their own space on the faction wall, which I think really kind of suits them really well. So I'm going to kind of keep this up here. I was able to keep the backdrop, so I think it's really cool. But yeah, so now I've moved the Shield down here. I've moved the New Day over here. I've moved the Inner Circle up here. The Bloodline, and then pretty soon, just as a little teaser, this Judgment Day shelf is going to get a little bit of an update. DX is obviously still here. I've moved all of my Finn Balor figures, my Finn Balor collection over here. Figuring out maybe I might put a little something over here to highlight, you know, and you know, kind of like, you know, space out something so I can maybe fit another couple. I'm going to see what the spacing is. But yeah, those are all the Finn Balor figures right there. So that's all the spaces that were affected by all of this. Now I know you're thinking, Albert, you spent all this time teasing what you did. Let's see what the final result is. And here we go. There it is. This right now is the entire cabinet that I've just finished packing out. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, at the top, mostly the same is the Attitude Era backstage segment setup. Obviously, that kind of would go somewhere within this collection, but it's hard because of the table and everything like that and all the space. It makes more sense to have it up here. So I kind of kept it. Eventually, these are all going to move once, you know, I get a permanent spot for this, for my collection. So it's not going to stay like this. It'll inevitably go into timeline order when I have the space for it to figure it out. But I love the way this looks. Then we have the Hall of Champions shelf, which I'll go through briefly because I know we kind of already saw. So there it is, starting from Bruno to the corner with Hogan. Moving on down, that's the rest of the WWE champions. Then we're going into the World Heavyweight champions and Universal champions. More World Heavyweight champions down there. A couple of guys that were left out of the case right now that I have to find some room for, so we'll figure that out. But also, the big news is this is complete. So let's take it from the start. We got it from the left. It's, you know, the golden era of wrestling. So you have guys like Classy Freddie Blassie. You have ladies like Mae Young. You have Rocky Johnson and Don Morocco. You have the Fabulous Moolah. But then we start moving into, you know, more of the mid to late 80s with the $1 Million Man and his bodyguard Virgil. Of course, Andre and Hogan and Warrior and Macho. You have Mr. T up there. So that, as you can see, as they go along there, I'm not going to name everybody. You guys can see who they are. Then, we go into the 80s tag teams. We have Macho King, Randy Savage over there. As you can see, there are still some spaces in here, so there's going to be some updates eventually. I wanted to leave a little bit of room so that I had some space for everybody. We move down here into the 90s, and then we get into, the mid-90s here. As you can see, the Raw sign in the background. It's back there. You really can't see it, but you can tell it is back there. Then we move into the Attitude Era there in the middle shelf. Then you have the Corporate Ministry up in the front with Trish Stratus there on the end, Kurt Angle. So very big 90s into early 2000s stalwarts. And then we get into the 2000s and beyond. As you can see, Triple H and The Rock up there in the back, probably one of the biggest feuds in WWE history. We have Kurt Angle and JBL. You have then, of course, Triple H with Evolution there in the corner. That's one of the factions that came off the shelf, just like the Nation of Domination and the Corporate Ministry. Then we're moving on. Rock versus Hogan there in the middle, the entire newer version of the NWO. As you can see, Kev is a little bit blocked there by Pac. I'm going to have to move those around. But, and then Booker's back here, over here. I don't know why he looks that way. Let's maneuver a little bit. And we'll put this here instead. There we go. Much better. Now you can see Kevin Nash a lot better. So then, as time is going on here, and that's what we're at right now. So as you can see, this case is pretty full. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with everybody else over there. But I already can see that there is some room in some of these spots where I can tell that I could probably sneak more people in and stuff like that. So we'll figure it all out. Obviously, updates will be made. More figures will be had. Things will come in and out. But I am so happy with the way that this turned out. All right, everyone. That brings an end to this colossal, enormous, big episode here of the Toy Room Renovation. You got a little mini toy room tour there, but the full toy room tour is actually going to come within the next couple of weeks. When I start filling out and plugging all the holes that I have in those walls and kind of fill in those spaces, we'll do a revamped toy room tour, but I have some ideas of where some things are going to go. I have some huge pieces coming in. I can't wait for you guys to see the mega amount of stuff that I have, some of which is going to be put right up onto these shelves over the next couple of weeks. I have some amazing stuff that has already started to trickle in. I have some other stuff that's on the verge of coming in that's going to change the landscape of my entire collection and where things are placed and how everything goes. So if you think this was big, there's another big episode coming, I would say, within the next month or two. So get excited. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for all your support, especially on this video, because this was a labor of love. This took me a very long time to shoot and produce, and it took a lot of hours to edit. And I really appreciate all of you guys spending the time here with me to watch this whole big case go up. Brand new shelves being built. This is a new thing for this channel, so I'm hoping that you guys liked it, and we can do more of these bigger episodes when big things happen in the figure world. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for your support. I'll see you next time.